going to talk about culture. So, what exactly is culture? Well, culture is all around us. Culture is in everyone. Um, it's pretty much what makes up our identity, and it's how a lot of us identify. It affects the foods that we eat, all the way to the type of clothes that we wear, to even the dialect that we might speak as well. But culture is very important in today's society because um, it actually is a way, it's used as a way for us to communicate. And what do I mean by that? So basically, cultures, everyone, they speak differently. As a nurse, there we have a certain section in nursing school where we learn about how to interact with certain types of patients, such as there's certain cultures where if you look directly in someone's eyes, it's seen as offensive. Or, for example, if there's some people who they like to talk really close to you. I don't know if you've ever been in line and you're just standing there and there might be someone who's literally 2 inches away from you. So they're all in your personal space. See, for me, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or if it's just a me thing. I like to have my little space. I don't like people to be all up in my personal space. But in some cultures, that's how it is, especially like Asian cultures, some of them, which makes sense. China is overpopulated. So everyone is kind of like on side streets, they're packed in like sardines, all trying to get to wherever they're going. And so, but they're used to being in close proximity of each other. That's just because of, where they live. So, that's an example of different cultural things. But one thing, the one reason I want to talk about culture is because I feel like it's very important that every job or every company have what's called a cultural sensitivity training because it's very important for people to know how to identify and work with different cultures because all cultures are different. There's no culture that's better than the other. And the way that we can all just really coexist is to at least try to attempt to understand each other. So, for example, I have a charge nurse at my job who is from Africa. He's a tall man and he speaks very loudly and very, I guess, assertly. But that's just how he is. Now, when I met him, I didn't feel offensive by how he talked or anything because I eventually understood this is how he talks. By the way, as I'm talking like this, in some cultures, people talk with their hands. I don't know if that's necessarily my culture or if I've just kind of picked up on other cultures where people talk with their hands and I just kind of just, it happened naturally. But back to my charge nurse. So there was an incident where, he had a phone call from another floor. We were supposed to be getting an admission, and um, he was talking to the person on the phone, and the person felt offended by the fact that he was talking very loudly to them. Um, but what they don't understand is that's just how he talks. That's just naturally how he talks. He's very loud, but he can't help that fact. You know what I mean? And so then another incident occurred where, someone came to our floor and they were exchanging words and they were about like this. And he was pointing his finger, kind of trying to get his point across. And the person felt offended by that. But again, it's culturally, that's how he talks. He talks with a certain demeanor. He talks with his fingers point, to some people having a finger pointed at them is offensive, okay? But he didn't mean it in an offensive way. And I think when you have cultural training courses, they can teach you on how different cultures communicate with each other and how to kind of be basically sensitive to other cultures. There's some cultures where it's seen as offensive if you don't give them direct eye contact. So, I think and you might not know because, that's not your culture. So I think it's just very important that we, as people, for us to coexist, that we really take into account that no one is better than the other. And it's very important for us to not only educate ourselves about other cultures, but also to be sensitive to other cultures' needs and how they are. And that way, just life would be that much better.